The crisp autumn air carried the scent of pine and damp earth as Liam pulled his small suitcase from the trunk of his car. He squinted at the grand, old lodge that would serve as the hub for Ben and Chloe's wedding weekend. As Ben's best man, Liam felt a familiar flutter of excitement and a touch of nerves. This wasn't just any wedding. It was for his childhood best friend, a bond forged over scraped knees and shared secrets. He pushed open the heavy oak door, the warm glow of the lobby a welcoming sight after the long drive. He quickly found Ben, who greeted him with a bear hug that nearly knocked the wind out of him. "Liam, you made it. Just in time, my friend. Chaos has officially begun." Ben's eyes sparkled with happiness, a contagious joy that always made Liam smile. "Wouldn't miss it for the world," Liam replied, patting Ben's back. "So, what's the first item on the best man's endless to-do list?" Ben laughed. "Right now, just get settled. Everyone's arriving. Chloe's already got her bridesmaids running around like headless chickens." As they chatted, Liam scanned the bustling lobby. Familiar faces dotted the crowd. Ben's parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Then, his gaze landed on Noah, Ben's younger brother, who was currently wrestling with a stubborn piece of luggage near the check-in desk. Noah, a few years younger than Liam and Ben, had grown into a strapping young man with a quiet charm. He caught Liam's eye and offered a small, friendly wave, a dimple flashing briefly on his cheek. Liam returned the wave, a polite smile on his face. Their interactions over the years had always been pleasant but brief, usually revolving around family gatherings or Ben's updates. Later that afternoon, the wedding party gathered for a quick run-through of the ceremony. Liam, standing beside Ben, felt the weight of his responsibilities. He'd rehearsed his speech a dozen times, but the thought of delivering it still made his palms a little sweaty. Noah was positioned on the other side of the altar, looking a bit stiff in his rented tuxedo, occasionally adjusting his tie. Their paths crossed as they moved through the motions of the ceremony. "Looking sharp, Noah," Liam commented as they waited for Chloe's entrance cue. Noah managed a shy smile. "Trying to. This thing's a bit tight around the neck." He tugged at the collar. "You look good too, Liam. Ready for the big speech?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Liam chuckled. "Just hoping I don't trip walking down the aisle." Noah let out a soft laugh. "You'll be great. Ben's lucky to have you." Their conversation was cut short as Chloe, radiant even in casual clothes, swept into the room, signaling the start of the actual rehearsal. Liam focused on his cues, on remembering where to stand and when to hand Ben the rings. He noticed Noah, too, was paying close attention, his brow furrowed in concentration. There was a shared sense of purpose among the wedding party, a collective effort to make Ben and Chloe's day perfect. Over dinner that evening, a casual affair for the immediate families and wedding party, Liam found himself seated across from Noah. The table was lively, filled with stories and laughter. Ben's dad was recounting an embarrassing childhood anecdote about Ben, much to everyone's amusement. Liam caught Noah's eye, and they shared a conspiratorial grin. "He really hasn't changed much, has he?" Liam whispered, leaning slightly across the table. Noah shook his head, still smiling. "Not one bit. Still manages to get into trouble, just different kinds now." Their interaction was light, comfortable. Liam appreciated Noah's quiet humor, a stark contrast to Ben's boisterous personality. As the evening wound down, Liam excused himself to help Ben with a last-minute detail for the next day's schedule. He said a general good night to the table, including Noah, who offered a small, polite nod in return. The first day of the wedding weekend was drawing to a close, a flurry of activity and friendly exchanges, with no hint of the storm that was brewing beneath the surface. Liam was simply focused on his best man duties, ready for whatever the next few days would bring. The next day dawned bright and clear, promising a beautiful wedding. Liam was up early, helping Ben with a myriad of tasks, collecting forgotten items, checking on decorations, and making sure the groomsmen were all accounted for. The lodge buzzed with a different kind of energy, a joyful anticipation that was almost palpable. It seemed wherever Liam went, Noah was there too, performing his own brotherly duties. They found themselves side by side more often than not. During a frantic search for misplaced boutonnieres, they bumped into each other in the busy corridor. "Any luck?" Liam asked, holding up a small box of pins. Noah sighed, running a hand through his slightly disheveled hair. "Nope. I swear, Ben's organization skills disappear completely when he's stressed. We're missing 2 for the ushers." "I think I saw a spare box in the main office earlier," Liam offered, pointing down the hall. "Want to check there?" They walked together, the easy silence between them comfortable. In the office, amid stacks of brochures and event schedules, they found the missing boutonnieres. As they sorted through them, their hands brushed, a fleeting touch that made Liam briefly look up. Noah quickly pulled his hand away, a faint blush on his cheeks. Liam, ever focused on the task, simply smiled and handed him the correct flowers. Later, during a lull in the preparations, Liam was trying to connect his phone to the lodge's ancient sound system for the pre-ceremony music. He was wrestling with a tangle of wires when Noah appeared, carrying a tray of coffee and pastries for the wedding party. "Having trouble?" Noah asked, setting the tray down. He leaned over Liam's shoulder, his proximity a little closer than usual. Liam could smell a faint scent of pine and something subtly sweet, like honey, from Noah's hair. "This thing is from the Stone Age," Liam grumbled, jiggling a loose cable. "It's supposed to be plug-and-play, but it's more like plug-and-pray." Noah chuckled, a low, pleasant sound. "Let me see. I'm pretty good with tech." He gently took the cable from Liam's hand, his fingers brushing Liam's again. This time, Liam noticed the warmth of Noah's touch, a brief spark. Noah expertly reconnected the wires, and a moment later, music filled the room. "There you go," Noah said, stepping back, a proud grin on his face. "Sometimes it just needs a little persuasion." "You're a lifesaver, Noah," Liam said, genuinely grateful. "Seriously, thank you. I was about to throw this thing out the window." Noah's smile widened, and he seemed to hold Liam's gaze for a beat longer than necessary before looking away. Liam felt a slight shift, a subtle acknowledgement of something unspoken between them. It was more than just polite conversation. It was a shared moment, a small connection. Throughout the afternoon, as guests began to arrive and the atmosphere grew more festive, Liam and Noah found themselves in each other's orbit repeatedly. They helped usher guests to their seats, exchanged comments about the growing crowd, and even shared a laugh when Ben accidentally spilled punch on his pristine white shirt. Their small talks grew a little longer, their laughs a little more genuine. Liam found himself unconsciously seeking Noah out in the bustling rooms, a silent question in his mind as to where Noah might be. He also noticed Noah's eyes on him occasionally, a quick glance across the room that would then dart away when Liam met his gaze. There was a moment when they were both standing by the guest book, guiding people to sign it. A particularly enthusiastic aunt launched into a lengthy story about Ben's childhood, much to Ben's blushing embarrassment. Liam and Noah leaned in, sharing a quiet moment of amusement. "She's never going to let him live that down," Noah murmured, a smirk playing on his lips. "Some things are just too good to forget," Liam replied, a twinkle in his eye. He felt a comfortable ease with Noah, a feeling he hadn't quite noticed before this weekend. It was nice, a pleasant surprise amidst the wedding day frenzy. He was starting to see Noah not just as Ben's younger brother, but as someone interesting and kind in his own right. The brief, friendly interactions were slowly, subtly, becoming something more. The wedding was just 2 days away, and the final touches were being put on the reception hall. Chloe, with her usual meticulous planning, had decided a personal touch was needed for the centerpieces. This meant a large group of the wedding party, including Liam and Noah, were drafted into an afternoon of floral arrangement and table setting. Liam, usually more at home with spreadsheets than flower stems, found himself surprisingly enjoying the task. He was carefully placing small white roses into a vase when Noah sat down at the same large round table, a pile of greenery beside him. "Chloe's really gone all out with the rustic chic vibe, hasn't she?" Noah remarked, picking up a sprig of eucalyptus. Liam nodded, smiling. "Tell me about it. I think I've seen more twine this weekend than in my entire life." He watched as Noah deftly arranged the greenery, his fingers surprisingly gentle. "You're pretty good at this." Hidden talent. Noah shrugged, a slight blush dusting his cheeks. My mom used to make flower arrangements for our church. I sometimes helped her. It's actually kind of calming. He glanced up, meeting Liam's eyes. Better than trying to figure out which cousin gets seated next to which estranged aunt. Anyway, Liam laughed, a genuine, hearty sound. You got that right. I think Ben's given up on the seating chart entirely. He just keeps mumbling about strategic buffer zones. They continued their work, the conversation flowing easily between them. They talked about their favorite childhood memories with Ben, sharing stories that made them both laugh until their sides hurt. Noah told Liam about a disastrous camping trip where Ben had tried to cook a gourmet meal over a campfire, resulting in a burnt offering in a very hungry group. Liam countered with a tale of Ben attempting to learn to surf, only to be promptly knocked off his board by a tiny wave. As they worked, their hands occasionally brushed as they reached for the same ribbon or shared a pair of scissors. Each time, Liam felt a small jolt, a warmth that spread through his fingers. He noticed Noah, too, seemed to hesitate for a moment after each contact, a subtle pause before continuing his task. The air around them felt a little different, charged with a quiet energy that was both new and intriguing. Later, as the afternoon sun streamed through the large windows of the reception hall, painting the room in golden hues, there were the last two still working on the centerpieces. Everyone else had drifted off to other tasks or taken a much-needed break. Liam was struggling with a particularly stubborn ribbon, trying to tie a perfect bow. Here, let me, Noah offered, leaning closer. His breath was warm on Liam's ear as he reached around him, his hands covering Liam's as he expertly guided the ribbon. Liam felt a shiver run down his spine, a sensation that had nothing to do with the cool air. Noah's proximity was intense, his scent of pine and honey stronger now. Thanks, Liam murmured, his voice a little softer than he intended. He could feel Noah's chest against his back, the solid warmth of him. For a moment, they stayed like that, frozen in time, the small bow completed, their hands still intertwined. Noah slowly pulled away, but not before their eyes met. There was a question in Noah's gaze, something deep and searching that Liam couldn't quite decipher. Liam felt a strange pull, a desire to understand what was behind those earnest eyes. It was more than just friendship, more than just the easy camaraderie they developed. Looks perfect, Noah said, his voice a little husky. He cleared his throat and stepped back, creating a small distance between them. Liam just nodded, still feeling the ghost of Noah's touch on his hands. He realized he had enjoyed their time together far more than he had anticipated. It wasn't just about getting the decorations done. It was about the shared laughter, the comfortable silences, and the unexpected sparks that had flown between them. He found himself looking forward to their next interaction, a new and intriguing feeling. This wedding weekend was proving to be much more eventful than he had ever imagined. The eve of the wedding arrived, bringing with it the highly anticipated rehearsal dinner. The main dining hall of the lodge had been transformed into a warm, inviting space, filled with the murmur of excited chatter, the clinking of glasses, and the comforting aroma of good food. Liam, looking sharp in his suit, was busy mingling, shaking hands with distant relatives, and exchanging jokes with old friends of Ben's. He felt a cheerful buzz, the culmination of all the planning and anticipation finally here. He was in the middle of a lively conversation with Ben's Aunt Carol about the best way to roast a turkey when he felt a familiar, subtle pull. He glanced across the room, past the laughing faces and sparkling decorations, and saw Noah. Noah was standing near one of the large windows, a half-empty glass of sparkling cider in his hand. He wasn't engaged in conversation, but rather, his gaze was fixed on Liam. Liam felt a quick, unexpected beat in his chest. Noah quickly looked away, a faint flush creeping up his neck as if caught doing something he shouldn't have been. Liam tried to dismiss it, telling himself it was just a coincidence, or maybe Noah was looking at someone behind him. But a small part of him, the part that had noticed the lingering touches and searching gazes from the day before, knew it wasn't. As the dinner progressed and speeches began, Liam found himself periodically checking on Noah. While everyone else was roaring with laughter at Ben's dad's famously long and rambling toasts, Noah seemed a little quieter, a little more distant. He would smile politely, but his eyes held a thoughtful, almost solemn expression that didn't quite match the celebratory mood of the room. Liam wondered if something was bothering him. Was he just tired? Or perhaps overwhelmed by all the family? When it was Liam's turn to give his best man speech, he stepped up to the microphone, his heart thrumming with a mix of nerves and excitement. He looked at Ben, beaming with pride, and then, almost unconsciously, his eyes flickered to Noah. Noah was watching him intently, a serious look on his face, his lips slightly parted. As Liam began to speak, sharing heartfelt anecdotes and well wishes for Ben and Chloe, he felt Noah's gaze remain on him, a steady, unwavering presence. It was oddly comforting, yet also made him feel a little exposed. After his speech, which was met with applause and a few sniffles from Chloe's mother, Liam rejoined the crowd, accepting congratulations. He saw Noah approach him, a hesitant look on his face. "That was a really great speech, Liam," Noah said, his voice a little softer than the general din. "Seriously. You really captured Ben." "Thanks, Noah," Liam replied, feeling a genuine warmth at the compliment. "Means a lot." He paused, then asked, "Everything all right? You seem a bit quiet tonight." Noah ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit Liam had started to notice. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a lot to take in, I guess. Watching Ben, it's a big step." He didn't meet Liam's eyes, instead looking past him at the laughing couple. Liam nodded, understanding. "It is, but they're happy. That's all that matters." He wanted to ask more, to delve into what was truly making Noah thoughtful, but the moment was fleeting. Someone else came up to congratulate Liam, and Noah took the opportunity to slip away, blending back into the edge of the crowd. Throughout the rest of the dinner, Liam noticed Noah retreating further into himself. He was still polite, still part of the group, but there was a quiet intensity about him. He seemed to be observing, rather than fully participating in the boisterous fun. Liam saw him again, standing alone for a moment, his eyes drifting across the room. And for another fleeting second, those eyes landed on Liam, holding a deep, almost pained expression before Noah quickly turned away, lost in his own thoughts. Liam couldn't shake the feeling that something was weighing heavily on Noah, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. The celebratory atmosphere was infectious, but it didn't seem to reach Noah, who remained wrapped in a cloak of quiet contemplation. The rehearsal dinner slowly wound down, but the night was far from over. Ben, buzzing with pre-wedding energy, declared an impromptu after-party in the lodge's main lounge. The space quickly filled with a mix of family and friends, all riding the wave of excitement for the big day. Music thumped, laughter echoed, and the clinking of glasses turned into a steady background rhythm. Liam, having successfully delivered his speech and navigated various family dynamics, felt a sense of relief and celebration. He joined a group of groomsmen, swapping stories and enjoying a well-deserved drink. The lounge was a vibrant, chaotic mix of conversations and dancing. Liam found himself caught in a lively debate about the best classic rock band with Ben's cousin, Mark. He laughed, gesturing enthusiastically, feeling the joyous atmosphere envelop him. Yet, even amidst the boisterous fun, a small part of his mind was aware of Noah. He'd seen him earlier, standing by the bar, talking to Chloe's sister, but his gaze seemed to flicker towards Liam often. Liam had dismissed it as a trick of the light, or perhaps just Noah being observant. After a while, the sheer volume and energy of the afterparty began to feel a bit overwhelming. Liam, needing a momentary escape from the friendly but intense noise, decided to grab a fresh drink from the quieter side of the bar. He navigated through dancing couples and enthusiastic huddles, a smile fixed on his face, but his eyes scanning for a little space. The main bar area was still busy, but a side door, usually for staff, was ajar. It led to a less trafficked corridor, promising a moment of quiet. Liam spotted a water pitcher on a small table near the opening and thought a glass of water might be just what he needed before diving back into the fray. He slipped through the door, the loud music immediately softening to a distant thrum. The hallway was dimly lit, a welcome contrast to the bright, buzzing lounge. He took a deep breath, the cooler air a balm to his overstimulated senses. He poured himself a glass of water, letting the cold liquid soothe his throat. He leaned against the wall, taking a moment to simply exist without the pressure of being on. His mind drifted to the events of the weekend, the unexpected closeness with Noah during the decorating, the subtle looks, Noah's quietness at dinner. It was all a bit strange, a new layer to a friendship he'd always considered straightforward. He wondered if he was reading too much into things, if the heightened emotions of a wedding weekend were making him imagine connections that weren't there. Just as he was about to push open the door and re-enter the party, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, expecting to see a server or perhaps another wedding guest seeking a moment of peace. Instead, it was Noah. Noah stood a few feet away, his hands shoved into his pockets. He wasn't smiling. His face was pale, and his eyes, usually so calm, were wide with an emotion Liam couldn't quite place, a mix of fear and urgency. He looked completely sober, his gaze fixed on Liam with an intensity that sent a prickle down Liam's arms. The distant thumping of music from the lounge seemed to amplify the sudden, profound silence between them. Liam realized, with a jolt, that this wasn't just a casual encounter. Noah had followed him. Liam's heart gave a strange lurch as he met Noah's gaze. The air in the dim corridor felt suddenly thick, charged with an unspoken tension. He opened his mouth to ask if everything was okay, but Noah, without a word, turned his head towards another door, just a few feet away. It was slightly ajar, revealing a sliver of light and the corner of what looked like a draped table. Noah pushed the door open wider and stepped inside, glancing back at Liam with a look that clearly pleaded for him to follow. Curiosity and a growing sense of unease propelled Liam forward. He stepped through the doorway, and the faint music from the afterparty was further muffled, replaced by a quiet stillness. The room was indeed a storage area for the reception venue, though it looked almost magical in the soft, overhead lighting. Covered tables, dressed in crisp white linen, were stacked against one wall, waiting to be set up for tomorrow's breakfast. Along another wall stood tall, slender vases filled with an assortment of flowers. White roses, delicate baby's breath, and sprigs of eucalyptus, some of the very same ones Liam and Noah had arranged earlier. The scent of fresh blooms hung heavy in the air, a sweet and slightly overwhelming fragrance that mingled oddly with the faint smell of dust and old wood. Rolls of ribbon and decorative fairy lights were piled on a nearby cart. It was a space of organized chaos, a beautiful mess that felt strangely intimate. Noah moved further into the room, past a stack of chairs, and turned to face Liam. He wasn't tipsy from any drinks. His eyes were clear, though clouded with worry, and his posture was stiff, almost rigid. He wrung his hands together, then stuffed them back into his pockets, his gaze darting around the room before settling on Liam again. "Noah, what's going on?" Liam asked, his voice softer than he intended, the quiet of the room amplifying his words. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was clearly serious. Noah took a shaky breath, his chest rising and falling visibly. I needed to talk to you. Somewhere quiet." His voice was low, barely above a whisper, almost lost amidst the silent flowers and covered tables. He seemed to be searching for the right words, his jaw tight. Liam waited, his mind racing. Had something happened with Ben? Was he having cold feet about the wedding? But the way Noah was looking at him, the intense focus in his eyes, suggested something far more personal. Liam felt a strange mix of apprehension and a protective instinct rise within him. Noah looked so vulnerable, so lost, standing there surrounded by the symbols of tomorrow's joyful union. You look really scared, Noah," Liam said gently, trying to offer some comfort, some space for Noah to speak. "It's okay. Whatever it is, you can tell me." Noah swallowed hard as Adam's apple bobbing. He took another deep breath, his eyes flickering from Liam's face to the floor, then back up again, as if steeling himself for a monumental task. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy, punctuated only by the distant, muffled bass of the after-party music, a stark reminder of the lively world they had momentarily left behind. Liam could feel his own heart beating a little faster, anticipating whatever confession was about to tumble from Noah's lips. The covered tables and silent flowers around them seemed to lean in, waiting, as if holding their breath for the secret about to be shared. The silence in the storage room stretched, thick with unspoken words and the sweet, heavy scent of flowers. Liam watched Noah, waiting patiently, trying to project a calm he didn't quite feel. He could see the tremor in Noah's hands, the way his jaw worked, and the sheer terror etched on his face. This wasn't a casual chat. This was a confession. Finally, Noah broke the silence, his voice a raw whisper. It's about Ben, and Chloe, and everything this weekend. He gestured vaguely around the room, at the covered tables and the vibrant bouquets. Seeing them, how happy they are, how sure they are about each other. It's made me think a lot. Liam nodded slowly, encouraging him to continue. Think about what Noah... Noah took a shuddering breath, his eyes fixed on Liam's, full of a desperate honesty. About what it means to choose someone, to love someone, to want to spend your life with them. He paused, then his voice dropped even lower, barely audible. And it's made me realize things about myself, things I never understood before. Liam's mind raced, tried to anticipate where this was going. Was Noah having doubts about his own path? Was he feeling lonely? But the intensity in Noah's gaze, the way his whole body was coiled with tension, suggested something far more profound than simple introspection. Over the past few days, Noah continued, his voice picking up a little strength, though still trembling. Being around you, working with you, talking to you, he swallowed hard, his eyes pleading for understanding. I've felt things, Liam. Things I've never felt before. Not with anyone. Liam's breath hitched in his throat. He felt a sudden cold rush, then a flush of heat. He stared at Noah, trying to process the words, the implication of them. Noah stepped a little closer, his hands still clenched at his sides. I know this is probably crazy. I know I've always said I was straight, and I thought I was. But watching you, Liam, seeing how you laugh, how kind you are, how you look at Ben like he's your whole world. He trailed off, his voice cracking. It's like a switch flipped. And now all I can think about is you. Then the words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered, tearing through the quiet of the storage room. I think I'm falling in love with you, Liam. The confession hung in the air, heavy and fragile, amidst the sweet scent of roses. Liam felt as if the floor had dropped out from under him. He stared at Noah, his mind reeling. Love? For him? From Noah, Ben's younger brother, who had always identified as straight. It was completely unexpected, a seismic shift in the landscape of his understanding. Noah's eyes were wide with a mix of fear and relief, as if finally speaking the words had both terrified and freed him. He looked utterly vulnerable, standing there surrounded by the mundane elegance of the pre-wedding preparations, his heart laid bare. The chaos of the after-party outside seemed a million miles away, a muffled, irrelevant hum. All that existed in this moment was the quiet room, the silent flowers, and Noah's trembling confession. Liam felt a whirlwind of emotions. Shock, confusion, a strange sense of tenderness, and an overwhelming awareness of the weight of Noah's words. The words, I think I'm falling in love with you, Liam, echoed in the small storage room, vibrating with a raw honesty that pierced through the confusion in Liam's mind. He stood utterly still, his own breath caught in his chest. Noah's face, pale and vulnerable, swam before him, framed by the stacks of covered tables and the vibrant, almost mocking cheerfulness of the floral arrangements. The absurdity of the setting, this intimate, life-altering confession unfolding amidst pre-wedding clutter, only heightened the surreal nature of the moment. Liam's mind was a whirlwind. He had noticed the subtle glances, the lingering touches, the unexpected ease they'd found in each other's company. He had even felt a spark, a gentle pull towards Noah that he'd consciously, or perhaps subconsciously, dismissed. He'd chalked it up to the intensity of the wedding weekend, the shared responsibility, the general heightened emotions that float around such an event. He was openly gay, Yes, but Noah was Ben's straight younger brother. That was a fixed point in Liam's understanding of the world. Or so he thought. Now that fixed point had shattered. He searched for words, anything to say, but his throat felt tight, as if a hand had clamped around it. His gaze swept over Noah's anxious face, noting the desperate hope mingled with fear in his eyes. Liam saw the courage it must have taken for Noah to speak those words, to lay bare such a profound and confusing truth in this chaotic, intimate space. He didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to dismiss what was clearly a deeply felt emotion, but he was genuinely speechless. Liam. Noah's voice was a soft plea, tinged with rising panic at Liam's silence. He took another small step forward, as if compelled to bridge the distance, then stopped himself. Say something. Anything. Please. Liam finally managed to draw in a shallow breath. Noah. His voice was a rasp. He cleared his throat, trying again. I'm just really surprised. I didn't expect this. Not at all. It felt like an inadequate response, but it was the only honest one he could offer. He felt a blush creep up his own neck, not from embarrassment, but from the sheer unexpectedness of it all. The faint thrum of the after-party outside served as a jarring reminder of the world beyond this room, a world where Ben and Chloe were about to embark on their happily ever after. And here, in a storage room filled with their wedding props, a different kind of story was awkwardly, terrifyingly beginning to unfold. The contrast was stark, almost comical, if the stakes weren't so incredibly high for Noah. Liam knew he needed to respond, to offer some kind of comfort or clarity, but his thoughts were a jumbled mess. He had spent years navigating his own identity, coming out, and understanding what love meant for him. To have someone, especially someone who had always presented as straight, suddenly declare such overwhelming feelings for him was a shock to his system. It wasn't just about Noah's feelings, but about the implications for Noah's self-discovery, for their friendship, and for the entire delicate balance of this wedding weekend. He looked at Noah again, seeing past the fear to the earnestness in his eyes. The boy he'd known for years, Ben's quiet younger brother, was standing before him, completely exposed, completely raw. Liam felt a wave of tenderness, mixed with a healthy dose of alarm. He had no playbook for this, no ready answer. All he could do was stand there, speechless, letting the weight of Noah's confession settle around them like the silent, waiting flowers. Liam's surprise was palpable, a silent barrier between them. Noah saw it, and his own fear intensified, making him want to shrink away, to retract the words that had burst from him. But there was no going back now. He had to make Liam understand, even if he barely understood it himself. I know, it's a lot. Noah started, his voice still shaky but gaining a desperate edge. And I know what you're probably thinking. I've been thinking it myself, nonstop, for days. He ran a trembling hand through his hair, dislodging a few stray petals from one of the flower arrangements. I've always dated girls, Liam. Always. I've had girlfriends, I've liked girls. I've imagined my future with a girl. That's just who I am. Or who I thought I was. He looked around the storage room, at the covered tables, the waiting flowers, symbols of a traditional future that suddenly felt alien to him. Then this weekend happened. Ben and Chloe, seeing them so in love, so ready to commit, it made me think about what I want, what I feel. He took a step closer to Liam, his hands now gesturing slightly, trying to convey the chaos in his mind. And then there was you, Noah continued, his gaze locking onto Liam's, raw and unwavering. We were just working on stuff, hanging out, like anyone else. But every time you laughed, or you looked at me, or your hand brushed mine, it was different. It wasn't like with anyone else. It was more. He searched for the right word, his brow furrowed in concentration. It was like a switch flipped in my head. Like I suddenly saw you, really saw you, and everything else just faded away. He squeezed his eyes shut for a moment, as if trying to push back the overwhelming emotions. It's terrifying, Liam. Truly terrifying. I've spent my whole life believing one thing about myself, about who I'm supposed to be attracted to, who I'm supposed to love. And now I don't know. This is all new, and it's confusing. I'm so confused. His voice broke on the last word, and a single tear traced a path down his cheek. "I know you're gay," Noah whispered, his eyes opening and meeting Liam's again, filled with a desperate honesty. "And I've always respected that. I've always been happy for you, for Ben, for anyone who finds love. But I never, ever thought it would be me feeling this way about a guy. About you." He gestured helplessly. "It feels wrong in my head, because it's not what I'm used to, but it feels so right in my heart." He paused, then added, his voice barely audible, "And I had to tell you. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. Watching Ben make his choice, it just brought everything to a head. I had to know if you felt anything like that, too. If there was even a tiny chance." Liam listened, his initial shock slowly giving way to a profound sense of empathy. He saw not just a confession of love, but a raw, painful moment of self-discovery, of an identity unraveling and reforming right before his eyes. Noah wasn't just expressing feelings. He was grappling with the very core of who he thought he was, and doing so in a vulnerable, terrifying way. The tears in Noah's eyes, the tremor in his voice, the sheer desperation in his plea for understanding, all painted a picture of someone genuinely lost and deeply afraid. The chaos of the wedding weekend, far from being a distraction, had seemingly served as a catalyst for Noah's revelation, forcing him to confront feelings he had never anticipated. Liam watched Noah, the single tear tracing a path down his cheek, his whole body trembling with the effort of his confession. The raw honesty, the fear, the utter vulnerability in Noah's eyes finally broke through Liam's shock. He could see that Noah wasn't just confused. He was in pain, grappling with something monumental and deeply personal. Liam took a slow, deliberate step closer, closing the small distance between them. He reached out a hand, gently placing it on Noah's arm. Noah flinched slightly at the contact, then leaned into it, as if seeking an anchor. "Hey," Liam said softly, his voice a calm, steadying presence in the quiet room. "It's okay. Really. Take a breath." He waited, letting Noah draw in a shaky breath, his eyes still wide and searching. "Noah, what you just did, that was incredibly brave," Liam continued, his voice full of genuine admiration. "To feel something so new and so confusing, and to stand here and tell me, especially when you're this scared, that takes a lot. More than you probably know." He squeezed Noah's arm gently. "And you're right, I am surprised. Completely. I didn't see this coming at all. My mind is still trying to catch up, honestly." He offered a small, reassuring smile. "But surprised doesn't mean it's bad, Noah. It just means it's unexpected." Liam paused, gathering his thoughts. He knew what it felt like to question everything you thought you knew about yourself, to step into the unknown. He'd walked that path years ago, and while his journey had been different, the core fear and confusion were universal. "Look, I understand why you're confused," Liam said, meeting Noah's gaze directly. "And it's okay to be confused. It's okay to not have all the answers right now. These kinds of feelings, they don't come with a manual, especially when they challenge everything you've always believed about yourself." He gestured around the room, at the covered tables and the vibrant flowers. "And this whole weekend, watching Ben and Chloe, it's a big emotional time. It makes everyone think about love and life and what they want." He took a deeper breath. "I can't tell you what your feelings mean, Noah. Only you can figure that out. But I can tell you that what you're feeling is real. And it's valid. And it's not wrong, no matter what your brain is trying to tell you right now." Liam felt a strange mix of emotions himself, the lingering shock, but also a growing warmth in his chest. He realized that the sparks he had felt, the quiet connection, hadn't been imagined after all. They had been real, just as Noah's feelings were real. "And about what you said, about feeling things for me," Liam continued, his voice softening further. I heard you, and I appreciate you telling me. More than you know." He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. He couldn't promise anything, not now, not with so much still unsaid and unexplored. But he could offer kindness and understanding and a safe space for Noah's truth. "This is a lot to take in for both of us," Liam concluded, his thumb gently stroking Noah's arm. "Especially tonight, with the wedding tomorrow. But I want you to know that I'm here. We could talk about this. Whenever you're ready. No pressure, no judgment. Just us, figuring things out. Noah's eyes, still glistening with unshed tears, finally held a glimmer of something other than pure terror. A fragile hope, a spark of relief. He nodded, unable to speak, but the subtle easing of his rigid posture spoke volumes. Liam understood. For now, just being heard, just being seen, was enough. The chaotic beauty of the storage room, with its silent promise of celebration, now held the quiet weight of a newly unearthed, terrifying, and profoundly real secret.